Alright guys, the small frame is finally back from the painters. Here is a box of parts. Let's open it up and see what we have. What is up guys, welcome back to the channel. As you saw, I just got the small frame back from my painters, so here it is. Well guys, what do you think? I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So the same guy that paints all my bikes painted this one, of course. It's a friend of mine. I've known him for over 20 years. And he always does a pretty good job for me. So whenever I take a bike to him, as you saw in the first video, I try to do everything, you know, to make his life as easy as possible. Because they say that if you find a painter who's willing to do this kind of work, don't piss him off, because you'll probably never find another one. Most of the people around here want ridiculous amounts of money to do this kind of work. They'd rather just do insurance claims all day long, because that's really where the money is. So luckily I know this guy and he always takes care of me. So now I have the frame back from paint. I'm gonna have to sift through this box of parts. Okay. To be honest with you, I'm probably gonna throw away everything. I'm gonna use little bits and pieces here and there, like the hardware, brake pedal. That's actually the original headset there. So this is a V90 headset. It has 3 speeds here. Okay, I opted to go with a Primavera headset because it has a 4. And if you saw the engine build video, I did upgrade the transmission to a 4-speed. So that's the reason why I did that. I know this stuff is not easy to find. I was lucky enough to find this stuff, so I wanted to use it and make it correct. But anyways, the floor runners here, okay, I was going to reuse them, and I always say to reuse them because getting the new ones to fit is really difficult, but these things are kind of tired, and I really don't want to put these back on the bike. So I have a new set in that box there. I'm going to bend them so they match these exactly, and then I'm going to reinstall them. Using these just won't do this freshly painted bike any justice. So yeah guys, there's a lot of work ahead of us, but let's get started. Alright, so for the front end here, I have these pretty parts that are freshly back from powder coat. Alright, starting this front fork here, it's powder coated in this satin black. I have the front hub, which is gold, and the front fork link, which is also gold. Alright, so things to keep in mind when you get stuff powder coated, you have to either tape this stuff off before you take it to your powder coaters, or tell your powder coater that to not coat this stuff here. Okay, this stuff, these holes here, make sure they mask them all off, because if they go and just powder coat everything, your bearings and nothing will go back together right. All right, for example, this pin right here was powder coated on accident. I already started removing the powder coat, because if I don't, the front brake shoes will not go back on. Okay, just more work for me, and it sucks, but thankfully it's only this pin they forgot. All right, so yeah, like I said, keep in mind stuff like that. And of course the front hub, make sure they don't coat the inside. This is where the front brake shoes make contact to stop the bike. Okay, you don't want powder coat on there, because it'll reduce the braking power. Okay, so yeah, here's the front end. I'm gonna go ahead and start by assembling this. Another thing to keep in mind is this is what you need to do if you want to swap your 4-lug front end to a 5-lug. Okay, the fork is the same, the fork link is the same. The only things that are different are the axles, the bearings, and the front hub. Okay, so if you have a 4-lug small frame, follow this video, and this is how you convert it to a 5-lug. All right guys, so I'm going to start by rebuilding this front fork. Some parts you're going to need to do the 5-lug conversion is going to be these 2 bearings, this bearing, this 5-lug axle. If you're going to go and really rebuild the fork, then you'll need these 2 needle bearings, 2 big O-rings, and 2 oil seals. Okay, so that'll get you started as far as the 5-lug conversion. So I'm going to start by pressing these 2 needle bearings into the fork right here. Okay, I'm going to press it with the rounded side facing inward, okay, because there is a grease fitting right here. All right, when you fill that with grease, if you send in the flat side, the grease won't be able to get into the needles in there. So yeah, just press these in like this and leave just enough space for an oil seal to go on the end. All right, so I'm gonna do that off camera real quick with my press. I've got both the needle bearings pressed into here, okay, with enough space for the oil seal to go on either side. That part is done. Okay. All right, so now we're on to the front fork link assembly. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is press this little bearing into the fork link. I'm gonna go ahead and pack grease into the bearing before I do that. After that, there's this special, I guess, retaining nut that goes on. It requires a special tool to spin it in there. This actually comes on your 4-lug or 5-lug front end, so you don't need to buy one of these. So let me go ahead and press this in there, and then I'll show you how this thing goes on. Okay, as you can see, I got that bearing pressed into the fork link. I greased it all up before I put it in there. So I pressed it all the way down until the bearing touched that lip in the fork link. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but after that's done, you need to install this castellated nut that requires a special tool. I don't have that special tool, so I actually made one a long time ago. It's just an old socket I had. I cut a slit in it and put a piece of steel in the middle. So this is kind of how it works. All right, so you put this thing in there, drop it in there, and it's actually reverse thread to tighten it down. Just like that, okay? So I don't know the torque spec on this, but I usually give it a couple of duggas, and it's good enough. Just like that. All right, now that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and put this bearing over like this, okay, and then I'm gonna place the axle into the fork link like this. All right, so I don't know if this is exactly the way you're supposed to do it, but make sure that that axle's sticking through that bearing down here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and press everything down together until it all sandwiches together into the fork link. All right, so you can see I got everything pressed into the fork link. Okay, so on the end of this guy, there is a snap ring. Goes in like that. This is pretty much done. There's an oil seal that goes on this side here. Let me go find that real quick, and then we can put that in. All right, just realized I didn't order that oil seal. I can put that in later, no big deal. We can keep moving on. So on this side, you have a axle nut that looks like this. It's a geared axle nut because this drives the speedometer gear. Okay, so when you put this in, make sure the two, all these splines match up. All right, don't just put this in there, put this on there, and keep turning it, because if this is not all messed up in there and not all lined up, you're gonna destroy both these pieces, and you have to replace them, and then your speedometer won't work. Okay, so just pay attention when you do that. Okay, so I went and covered these two parts in grease, because that way they can mesh together properly and not get all messed up. So first thing you need to do is install the axle nut, which is this guy here, and oh wait, backwards. So this guy is reverse thread. Okay, so you're gonna turn this guy counterclockwise until it tightens into there. Okay, after that you have your Speedo gear right here. You have one end that has an indent into it like that, and then one end's flat. The indented side I'm going to face into the fork link and push it in, and while you're doing that you have to spin this axle nut so the drive will mate up so you don't destroy it. So once you have everything lined up, it should just go right in. Let's see here. If not, keep spinning it, see? So I just got everything all mated up. So when I turn this, you see that gear spin. Okay, that's what drives the Speedo cable. All right, so that's done there. Okay, I'm gonna go and hit it with a, let me see, with an impact so I can tighten it a little bit, because it's I can't torque this down until I get it all on the bike. So let me do that real quick. You know what? I'm gonna leave that alone. Get everything all together, and I'll torque it down once it's all together, because this is gonna keep coming out if I try to tighten it. So let me push that back in again. Make sure it's still okay and spins. Yep, like that. Perfect. I'll cover this end with this cap here. Has the little fiber washer on it. Okay. All right, so this should be it for now. Like I said, I'm gonna torque it down once I have everything on the bike and a tire on there, so I can torque it properly. So if I look on this end, all the way down there with a light, I should be able to see that gear spinning, because this is where the speedo cable goes, right in there. There's a little retaining bracket that holds it in place. So I'm gonna grab a flashlight, make sure that's still spinning all right, and then we can go ahead and install this guy onto the fork. Okay, looks like that drive is working perfectly fine. All right, this is good. Install the shock before I put the fork link onto the fork. The owners opted to go with this nice SIP reservoir shock. This is the first time I've installed one of these. I guess we'll have to figure it out together. All right, so the shock itself only comes with this big washer and this nut. That's it, okay? You need to order these two rubber bushings. One goes here, goes through the fork, and then the other one on top. All right, also didn't come with this big washer, so you're gonna order one of those. And also didn't have a locking washer. I had to order that as well, or get one. So hopefully I can get this to line up right. Get enough meat on there to work. Not sure if you can see this. Hopefully you can. So that stem is, I don't have enough. Okay. Weird. Does this go on top? Seems to be really big. No, that's too big. Again, you gotta thank I guess the Germans this time to not include instructions, so we have to figure it out. So I know a bushing goes down here, that's normal. One goes up here. Big washer. Just doesn't feel like, oh, there you go. Big washer, lock washer, and this nut, but I don't have enough space. I think, Guess it didn't come with a lock washer for a reason. Who knows? I mean, I don't expect that to move too much, so it probably won't pop off. Actually, geometrically speaking, it can't pop off, so I'm gonna leave it the way it is for now. So now that I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and install an oil seal onto this shaft right here, this big one here. Big O-ring onto this end here of the fork. Just wrap that around, and then it kind of slips like this onto the fork link. Gonna rough this together for now, and then see what it needs and what it doesn't need to work right. So put that back on. Okay. Awfully close, awfully close. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right, I got everything sort of put into position. Maybe, I don't know. So it should look something like this when you're done. I'm not quite sure about the top here, but I'll worry about that later. There's another oil seal that goes on this end here. Big washer there. Another washer here. And you got this cover. Just like that. Lock washer there. Big nut here. Oh, sorry, I forgot something. This O-ring on this side. Once I have this all together, I'm gonna put this grease fitting back on, and then we're gonna shoot grease in there, and it'll lubricate all of those needle bearings in there. So got that there. The washer goes here. Washer there already. Lock washer. Nut. Lock washer, and where's the other one? I'm gonna find the nut for this. Alright, I found another nut. I don't know what happened to the original one, but it's okay. This one, if I lost, I don't have those. So we're gonna reuse that one. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this guy on real quick. Temporarily. I'm gonna torque all this down once I have it on the bike, so don't worry. I'm not gonna leave it like this. Okay. All right, it's actually a few days later. I had to wait for some parts, like this seal here. It goes on the end. This little rubber cap that goes here, and then of course grease nipple. I already had this, but just put this on. So I'll put the grease nipple on, and then I'm going to pump this full of grease. As soon as it starts coming out of these crevices here, I know it's full. I'll just roll these O-rings on, and this part should be done. So I'm going to show you what I was working on the past 2 days while I was waiting for parts, and then that is this P200 here. In the last video you saw that I removed the motor, and I did discover that there is a Malossi 210 kit on it. So again, I need to order some more parts to rebuild this. The gasket kit for the P210 is different from your normal 200. This is actually a European P200, which doesn't have the oil injection. So it's pretty cool, I guess. The first one I've seen. Along with that, we're going to be putting a shorter fourth gear on the transmission, and then Costa clutch. So making pretty good progress on this guy. This motor was filthy, so it took me a long time to clean it up. But now it's clean. It's ready to be rebuilt. But in the meantime, while that was being done, something else showed up in the shop, which is this thing right here. All right. I've always wanted one. My friend was selling it. It was cheap. So again, went down to Richmond, where they keep all the vintage Vespas around here, and I picked it up. So this thing runs and everything. It just needs a rebuild, a little bit of attention, but not too bad. Got some good patina on it. It looks pretty good. I'm hoping the wife will ride in it once I'm done. But it's highly unlikely. Anyways, yeah, that's what happened while we were waiting for parts. Some more stuff showed up. Other projects getting done, but now we're back onto the small frame front end. So like I said, I'm gonna put this grease nipple on, tighten it up, install the seals, and finish this all up. Now we can actually get into the frame. All right, so I'm gonna tighten this grease nipple here. Got my air powered grease gun over here. Hook this guy up and then pump some grease into it. See little bubbles forming here, so I'm pretty sure it's really full of grease now. I'm not gonna keep pushing it. All right, we should be good. All right, like I said, we'll pull these O-rings over, and this part's done. Very nice. All right, so I'm gonna install this seal here on the end. Put some grease on this lip here, so I can push it in easily. Looks pretty good. Grease this inner lip too, so the hub can go over this guy easily. Don't let it dry because it'll catch this lip and then pop the spring out. I mean, it's not a huge deal because it's just the front end, but on the engine parts it is. So I'm going to push this guy on. Okay, just like that. Okay, so up next, I have all the brake parts all cleaned up. We're going to go and reinstall. I'll put some grease on this shaft here before I install it. That way it ensures that the brakes work smoothly. So grease that up, put this in like this. So cable goes here, so it pulls it this way. All right, so let me turn this thing around, get the brake pads installed. Okay, so one brake spring or Omega clip on the end here. That's that, just like that. All right, I got the hub here. I put a little grease on the back here, so it'll slip over that seal. So slip that guy on, the washer, and then the nut. Good enough. Holds pretty smooth. Back here we have this brake return spring on these later model Vespas. Actually came with this, so I'm going to put this back on real quick. It goes like this, I think. Yeah, like that. Like this. Okay, just like that. All right, cable goes through here. I gotta put the adjuster on, and it pulls this to stop the bike. All right, so it's good to go. All right, on this top nut here, I did compress these rubber bushings down with the nut first, and then now I just removed the nut, and then now I'm able to put the lock washer on. So we are good to go here. It's the last step. This thing I can't get to later on after the fender is installed. I have to do this now. So I'm gonna compress it down. There you go, perfect. So I did spend a couple hours changing these studs out to longer ones because of the wheel that we're installing. The lip is actually bigger than your factory wheels, so it barely gave me any thread left once I had the wheel on there. But since I put longer studs in there, these studs are not exactly precision made, so I think they were kind of like this to begin with, but since they were shorter, this wheel still will go on. Now they're longer, it makes the circumference smaller, so the wheel is really hard to get onto the hub. So I may need to take a little material off of each hole, just the inner part, just so the wheel can go on properly. Because right now, I mean, I'm sure I can beat it on, but then it's going to be really hard to get it off. So yeah, I'm going to have to do something because it's not right now that I have the longer studs installed. So I guess I'm gonna take a file and kind of file some material off the inner edge, that hole there, and hopefully it's enough for me to slip the wheel onto the hub. All right, like I said, I just took a little bit of material off of each hole, and hopefully you can go onto the hub now. All right, I got the wheel on. I had to take just a little bit of material off the holes on the inner part on each one, and I was able to push it on. Still pretty good. So yeah, let me go ahead and put the nuts and the lock washers on, and we should be good. All right, there you go. Front end is pretty much done here. So next thing I'm gonna do is throw the fender on. All right, here I have the fender. This hole here lines up with that hole there. Okay, you got two mounting holes on the top here. So it's painted, so be very careful when you install it. All right. Now you notice how I didn't install any of this race stuff, the dust cap or anything like that, because if you do that first, the fender will not go on. Okay, so leave this stuff off until you get the fender on. All right, let me see if I can get this on without messing it up. Nerve-wracking messing with stuff that's painted. Okay, that's pretty painless there. Okay. Okay. For the hardware, M6 by 1.0 for the top. I think the factory ones are only M5s, but M6s fit, so I use M6s. So over here, the special screw looks like this. All right, that goes through the hole there. Washer on the back, and then a nut. Okay, so I'll go and tighten this stuff. All right, see, I got the fender onto the fork. Everything securely mounted. I'm sure it would have been easier if I left the wheel off, but I didn't want to risk scratching anything, so I left the wheel on and I kind of worked my way up there to tighten those nuts and bolts. Yeah, looks pretty good. Now I'm going to tape it all up just in case I nick anything, and then we can install it into the frame. All right, I got my fender all taped up. Had a little piece of microfiber wrapped around it, so to protect it from any scratches, hopefully. But I have my steering race kit right here. It comes with all the pieces. Some of them come with all the pieces, some of them don't. So make sure you have all the pieces I have here. So it's gonna be two of these guys. The race for the top of the frame, race for the bottom of the frame, two of these bearings here, a locking washer, and then you have this guy that sits here. Okay, but before you do that, you put on this dust cap. Like I mentioned, I do this afterwards because if you have this on, you cannot get the fender on. Okay, so before I install this, I'm going to heat it up with a heat gun, and hopefully they'll expand enough so where I can just drop this on and I don't want to have to do too much work as far as hammering it down or anything. All right, let's see if this guy will go on real easily. Almost there. Yeah, no, it's there. Cool. Just give it a couple taps just in case. This is a piece of 1.5 inch PVC pipe, so fits perfectly on there. Give it a couple taps. It should be longer, but that's good enough. Perfect. There you go. All right, so to install these bearing races, this guy goes to the bottom here. This guy goes on the top. All right, I have my bearing race tool right here. All right, I believe it goes something like this. It'll go straight down the fork tube, and then this bottom one goes on like this. And and then you tighten the top of the bottom, it'll pull the two races together and into the frame. All right, so before I do that, I'm going to lube these guys up real quick. That way it'll help me with the installation. All right, after about 20 minutes of messing with this thing, I finally got that bottom race in there nice and flush. And the same with the top, nice and flush. Okay, now we can go ahead and slip the fork back into the frame. Okay, as you can see, I have my wheel set up all clamped into my chock here. Fork sticking up. I have the frame in my little mid stand here. It's jacked all the way up, and all I need to do is really just tilt this down, and then I'll lower the jack, and then that frame will go onto the fork. Okay, nice and easy. I'm sure there are other ways of doing it, but I find this to be the safest way. So I'll scratch a perfectly good paint job. So if you do it a different way, good for you, but this is how I do it. All right, so let me go ahead and lube the bearing that goes here, and then we can go ahead and insert it into the frame. All right, as you can see, I got that bearing all nice and greased up. Now I just need to simply slip it into the frame. Okay, it's lined up. I'll lower the mid jack. Okay, so now we're at the top here. I have another bearing that goes up top here. The flat side will go down, and the rounded side will go up. All right, so you put that on there first. Next up, we have this nut here. Looks like this, and this is where the bearing rides on the bottom there. That goes on like this. Next up, we have this locking ring that goes here, and there's a tab there, and it goes in the slot right here. Okay, like that. Then you have the nut that locks it all together. I'm gonna leave this alone for now, and then once I hang the motor, then I can back the bike up a little bit, put it on the center stand, and then I can really mess with it. But right now, I'm just gonna leave it the way it is, not too tight, and then I'll make some adjustments later if we have to. Alright guys, I have the fork fully installed into the frame. I know a lot of you guys like to run the wires and the cables and all that without the fork in the way. I don't think it really makes a difference in a small frame, but then again, I don't use this area to run wires anyway. Wiring is what I do for a living. I run wires through vehicles all day long, so running wires through these little things is really not a big deal for me. But if your way works for you, great. This way works for me, so I do it this way. Anyways, so far so good. I'm very happy with it. All right, I was able to put the front end on without messing anything up, so very happy about that. So next I have the motor here. We're going to be reinstalling this guy into the frame, and then I'll put the center stand on, and after that it'll be a rolling chassis, and then we can work on the trim and all the little time consuming things. But guys, I've been on this thing for about a week on and off, this and that, so I am tired. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys have enjoyed these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch y'all next time.